Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Joe Gallimore, Director of Investment Management with Argent Bridge Advisors. Welcome to our second to last Cup of Joe of 2023. Before we get started, I want to mention to everyone that this past week we had a wonderful investment discussion with Larry Riddell from the St. James Investment Company. Larry and I sat down and we talked about how interest rates affect stocks. We talked about the Magnificent Seven, making the S&P 500 more concentrated than it's ever been. And we talked about how the St. James's patient time-tested approach to value investing offers clients a long-term advantage in owning great businesses. So I encourage everyone to go check that out either on our website or on this very same YouTube channel that you're watching Cup of Joe on. And that should be up very soon. So go check it out. Now, as we get closer to the end of the year, work our way through November and into December, things kind of slow down. We here at Argent Bridge wanted to offer everyone a kind of a financial planning punch list, financial planning to-do list to close out the end of the year. These are just a few things that you can do to work towards better outcomes in your own personal finances. So the first thing is assess any changes. Now, this might seem obvious, but we literally mean if anything's different from last year. Did you make more or less money? Did you sell a house? Kids entered or exited college? Those are big, obvious things, but something as simple as, did you hit an age milestone? Or did anything about your expenses change? Did you sign up for a bunch of subscriptions or take a bigger vacation or, food costs are certainly more. So looking at things like that, grab a piece of paper, write them down, make a list, and then bounce it off your advisor. All the things that happened during the year should be looked at together at the end of the year. So any possible steps can be taken in conjunction with your advisor to plan for the year ahead. Number two, give your taxes a little thought. It's really easy to just gather all your documents at the end of the year, send them off to your tax preparer, and then forget about it. But it's worth taking a minute to think about what goes into your taxes. Are you getting or got a good bonus at the end of the year? Like I mentioned before, did you make more than you thought, or maybe even slightly less than you thought? Or maybe you had some windfall income during the year. All these affect your tax picture, obviously, but reach out to your advisor because it's worth letting them know that if something came out differently than what you anticipated at the beginning of the year, because the whole way you've been planning with those initial assumptions. But if it's coming out differently, steps can be taken to improve your outcome. 3, review your budget for accuracy. Now, not everyone uses a written budget as guidance. But if you do have one, it's worth comparing what you did spend to what you had written down previously and identifying any differences. Studies have shown that people very typically tend to underestimate the amount they spend. So identifying any differences and seeing how accurate you are is a huge advantage in planning for the future. 4, make sure to fund your company retirement plans. Make sure they are fully funded. When the year turns, everything goes clean slate. So you want to take full advantage of what you're allowed to save and deduct, and you want to make sure you earn all the match that they're willing to give you. 5, charitable giving. If you gift regularly, or if you never have gifted but would like to, make sure you tell your advisor. There are lots of giving strategies out there, and we here at Argent Bridge want to make sure that you're taking full advantage and making the most of your generosity. Now, the last one is one close to my arena, investments. The end of the year, not necessarily a time to shuffle your investments. So what I mean by that is that there's a different seasonality to the stock market other than the calendar. And many corporate fiscal years, they're offset for specifically this purpose. Historically, the months in Q4 and Q1 can be very good for the stock market. So making a New Year's resolution to just change your investments and make them better, that's not automatically a good idea. So if you're focused on your investments, even concerned about them, let's make it a discussion with your Argent Bridge advisor, but one that happens year round and just isn't a knee-jerk reaction just because the calendar turns to January. So finally, to close out, I wanted to address something that we've been getting a lot of questions about. That topic is I bonds, and which are bonds linked to inflation. And this topic became very popular back in 2022. And we fielded a lot of questions about them. And clients now own I bonds, and they're asking about it again since Treasury rates are hitting their all-time highs. So I wanted to go through I bonds, maybe inform everyone of the best way to own them, and invite you to ask us questions about them. So what is an I bond? An I bond is a bond issued by the US Treasury, and it has two components. There's a fixed component to its interest rate and a variable component to its interest rate, which is based on inflation. The interest of these bonds, it accumulates monthly and compounds every 6 months. So every 6 months, they add the interest back to the principal, and then you earn interest on a greater amount. So it's a very powerful mechanism, compounding interest. But a few specifics you need to be aware of with I bonds. Each person can only buy $10,000 worth of I bonds in any given year, and you must hold your bond for at least 12 months. After 12 months, you can't redeem it. If you redeem your I bond before 5 years, then you're going to give up the last 3 months of interest. Currently, that last 3 months of interest, that's going to equate to around $100. And there is a cap on what you can own, $10,000. So it's not like you're giving up a humongous amount to move that investment to something else. Now, the rub with I bonds, where it gets really tricky, is this variableness. There is a high degree of variableness with the interest rate on an I bond, and that makes it a little tricky to know, am I owning the best thing? Like I said before, there's a fixed rate, a fixed component to your interest rate. That rate is locked when you buy the I bond, but that fixed rate can be different based on when you buy your I bond. For example, bonds purchased between May of 2020 and October 2022, those had a fixed component of 0. So the only interest those bonds were getting were the inflation readings. Excuse me, the variable component, that is going to change significantly. Remember that the Fed is steadfastly committed to suppressing inflation. So the likely direction of your variable component is going to be lower. So now you ask yourself, is it worth purchasing an I bond? Or if I own an I bond, is it worth keeping it? Well, any bond bought from May 2020 through last month, October, that's yielding under 5%. Compare that to what treasuries are yielding right now. Anything between 3 months and 2 years, that's yielding over 5%, and you lock in that rate. Currently, for I bonds purchased between now and May of 2024, looking ahead, the temporary interest rate for those is 5.3, which, yay, great, that's a competitive rate. But remember, that rate is going to change with inflation. And as we see through Fed actions, the likely direction of that rate is down. That rate will only go up if inflation increases. And that's something nobody wants to see. So there is a strong case to be made for cashing in I bonds purchased recently and locking in higher rates for another fixed period. And candidly, that really applies to any I bond purchased after about 2023. So if you own any I bonds, show them to your advisor. Let us take a look, and we'll see if we can improve your outcome in any way. If you're curious about owning I bonds or have other questions, please let us know, and we'd be very happy to share some examples with you. So that concludes this version of Cup of Joe. If you have any questions about anything we addressed here or any other questions about investing, economics, or planning, please reach out to us, and we will get back to you very soon. Thank you.